Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you run away with the circus and it was a podcast, it would be this show. If you want to come out of your house, escape your wife, hang out with your boys, drink bourbon, smoke cigars, you are welcome. This is a safe place. This is Reckless Speculation with our new format of 5 people, but we all know that Indian Raj is late every day. He's on Central Punjabi time. Raj, when you get here, we'll talk about it. First and always, joining us from his sickbed, where he has fought for his very existence like a warrior, the man, the myth, he ain't that sick. Everybody get him up and going. In from the dungeon, in the basement of his home, it is Robert Floyd Davis.
Hey, sorry I missed last week. Yeah, I've been on a 6 or 7 day bout with COVID, and so still fighting it. So I apologize for any coughs or bad lighting that I have or bad voice.
Hey, bro, the lighting sucks. We'll just go ahead and get it.
This is my max effort from our sick room in our house.
Are you sure you're not in Amsterdam? Because that looks like a similar room in Amsterdam.
I think I was on a crack bender one time and ended up in that room. Below me, the only world's Titans and Buckeyes fan who plays golf with I don't know, it's like an obsession for this man. He is the man, the real myth, the true last place finisher in our fantasy football league.
Oh, no, don't even get started
Brandon Chang.
Yeah, not the last place finisher. Let's just make that clear.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a lot of debate about that, and I think I won that vote. So anyway, boys, what's going on? Glad to have you back, Robbie. Glad you're on the mend. Looking forward to tonight, and you know, Raj will be here eventually.
Love him. Love him. He'll be here eventually. And finally, below me and into this way. From Detroit, Michigan. I know you're really from Detroit, Michigan. But the world famous. No, I'm just kidding. The world famous Tom Sloan. Good evening, our Michigan brother. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How we doing, guys?
Do you want to announce your big news here, Tom?
My big news.
A new career, and we're all
yes. New career starting here in September. Pretty excited. It's been a good run the last couple of weeks, getting to join this awesome show with you guys, and then joining a really, really good company here in a few weeks, and things are definitely looking up, especially for the RiverCity-Media. How many followers did we gain in the last few days? 79, you said?
79 followers in just a few days, man.
That's awesome.
It's come to the point where I realize that it's despite me that the company's growing, not because of
Don't think twice. You're the reason why we're where we're at today. So we wouldn't be here without you.
I'm inspired. I'm making a lot of dumb suggestions that y'all have to correct me on. But I do have a couple of quick announcements. One, a young man from Tennessee Tech University that's desiring to be a meteorologist is going to bring a special service here to RiverCity-Media. Game day forecast, guys. And I know you can look at any newspaper and see the NFL forecast. You could probably get online and follow college game day forecast. But if you are local to the Chattanooga area and you want to know what the forecast is for your Friday night football, Chase Bryant will have it here on RiverCity-Media, and he's going to do it live, guys. Like in the morning, he's going to jump on, hey, at this thing we think we're going to have, it's just going to be, I don't really know what it's going to look like. I just know it's going to be an invaluable service because I can't tell you, at least once a year, I show up a game in short sleeves and it's 20 degrees, or I show up in a hoodie and it's 101 degrees. So I'm looking forward to having Chase join us. We'll probably bring him on this show and introduce him to everybody at some point. But I don't think he'll last very long on here because he's not a sports guy. He's a weather guy.
Nice.
Now, is he going to be doing college weather too, or just
Yes.
So
we
some Big
we should
Ten.
bring him on. I have tons of weather questions.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we will.
How can you be 50% at your job and still have such a great?
Well, so I'm
That's
just
my biggest question.
whenever they say it's like a 70% chance of rain, it doesn't mean that there's 70% chance it's going to rain. It means that
70% of the area
is going to rain, and it's
Correct.
like so it's like, can we not get that? Can we not make that more specific? It's like, is my area going to get rain? Like, I want to.
Well, yeah, the generality, and that's what confuses
Yeah.
people is, it's covered that national coverage area.
When Che and I were at the beach, it was thunderstorms every day, and it was perfect weather.
Oh, that's awesome. 85 and breezy.
That's
Sun.
called Florida, boy.
Yeah, that's Florida.
That's back when I could get out of the house.
I do have to make one comment. You guys both look like you're in Amsterdam. We got Tom in the red light district down here, and then Robbie's in a hostel up top here.
We
So
are
you go
right,
to Tom's place
right
first,
next door to
and
each
then
other.
you come see Robbie.
Yes, we're
That's
right
what's
next door to
going
each other.
That's
The red light district of the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
you give Robbie $10 and then go see Tom. Is that the story?
right. That's right.
Hand it over.
I think it's vice versa. Give Tom $10 and then go see Robbie. But yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Guys, I said I wasn't going to say it, but I can't go without saying it. I mean, I just really have got to thank everybody. We're growing at a rate that we never thought we would. Like I said, it's something like ridiculous, like 79 new followers this week. And I don't know how the likes and the follows work, but we've got like 30 likes and 49 followers. But the last 28 days, we have got 122,000 people that have come to our page. Man, that makes you feel small right there. That makes you feel
awesome.
really small. That anyone would come to our page and read a story or watch an episode. And last week's episode, 1,300 views without Robbie Davis. That usually carries a couple of thousand.
Maybe that's the key.
That's key. Before we get into our normal progression, I want to talk about someone I'm jealous of. This is Randall's 2 minutes. As you can see in the film, in looking at me, I'm fat. I'm not plump. I'm not big. I'm fat. I'm 320 pounds. I'm fat.
Big boned.
Big boned is the right word for me, except in certain areas. So we'll talk about that later. But I want to show you a picture of our boy, Patty the Batty, at the San Diego Padres game this summer.
That is photoshopped.
It is from his Instagram.
It's photoshopped.
It is from his Instagram, James.
It is photoshopped. He clarified that during the bout as well. That is photoshopped.
I don't care. Let me finish my point. If a guy can be that fat and then be that skinny, I don't care, man. I want what he's got. Come on, don't ruin my day. I've been thinking there's hope for me all day, Shane, because that guy did it. Now you want to come and kill my thing?
I'm sorry. There's hope.
He's got a high metabolism too. I think that goes down the drain after 40.
Shane's been putting time out for 30 seconds, so we're just going to put it there.
Just get COVID. You can drop some pounds that way.
30 seconds, Shane. You're in timeout. I'll bring you back. I'm bringing you back, but you're still going to be on mute while we talk about it because I want you to hear the question.
I can unmute myself, by the way.
Oh, jeez. Take him off stream again. All right. Here we go. The first of the college media days was at the SEC this past week. It's almost a week ago today. This week, the Big Ten media days are going on. We'll probably get to the Big Ten next week, but let's look back towards SEC Media Days. A couple of things struck me significant. And Shane, we'll start with you. We've been talking about it would be hard for Georgia to repeat after giving up, I think, 15 total draft picks on the defensive side of the football. They had second team guys going in the 4th round, 5th round. The media vote unanimously almost for Alabama. Georgia finishes second, and then a group right with Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and LSU above, then Kentucky, Tennessee. Is this Alabama's conference to lose this year?
I mean, I think it is every year under Saban. I mean, it's been a proven system. So, yeah, I can definitely see that, and that's always going to be the league favorite, no matter who wins the national championship under Saban. I mean, it's proven time and time again. He's always going to be there and competitive. Georgia's got a little rebuild to do. I think they're going to be up there, but I was impressed with Tennessee and Heupel. We'll get into that. I guess the media day kind of speech and everything. That was actually the first time I really sat down and listened to him speak, and I was pretty impressed. So I like their direction the Vols are headed. But yeah, to answer your question, it's always Alabama's to lose.
I think you're right. Tom, you saw Georgia against Michigan in the playoff. That team was a juggernaut, hitting on all cylinders. What is realistically an expectation for Georgia, knowing now I believe they played Oregon out of conference. They play Tennessee at home this year. They avoid Alabama in the regular season. Of course, they play the cocktail party down in Gainesville with Florida. What do you think a reasonable expectation for Georgia coming off the national championship is?
I mean, if you look at, like you said, 15 or so guys that I think it was 70% of the defense that is not returning this year. But then again, you look at the schedule, and I think it does favor them a little bit outside of Oregon. Offensively, I think they're going to be okay. They showed just at Michigan that wasn't even close. That was an absolute whipping of epic proportions. And but losing those defensive players, I know if you had to play Alabama in the regular season, I think you would be looking at a 2 to 3 loss season. But 1-2 losses, I think that's a fair expectation. Obviously, they're going to be riding a pretty good buzz coming off the national championship win. And so, I mean, being that they still have a good percentage of that offense intact, I think that bodes well for them going into the season. So I think they can 2 losses at the most, which is similar to what they did last year in the regular season and got hot at the right time. So, I mean, I still see them in the top 10. They always will. It's Georgia, so.
Yeah, agree.
Would Robbie? Let's leave Georgia and Alabama behind for just a minute. Well, not completely, but let's talk about one other thing. I want to talk about SEC has been a conference, I feel, great running backs that have evolved into a quarterback-heavy league. This year, when you've seen the top 3 positions, the first team, second team, third team quarterback list, it had Bryce Young, the defending Heisman Trophy winner. Hendon Hooker, of course, Tennessee's star quarterback, was the second team. Then Will Levis, who's projected to be a top 15 pick, was third team. Will Rogers, who in normal years would have been, considered a second or third team quarterback, even behind a defending Heisman Trophy winner. You got Anthony Richardson at Florida. A lot of people have great things expected from him. This really is a quarterback-driven league at this point, and Georgia may have one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the sport of college football is shrinking. It is shrinking into these 2 conferences, and so no longer quarterbacks spread around as much. Yeah, they're going to come and the SEC, it's almost this, Saban, now Kirby Smart kind of effect where, look, we're not going to be able to out defense these guys. So we've got to flip the script and go offense on them. And, Kevin Sumlin was kind of the first one to do it. And then Hugh Freeze, they didn't have great teams. They were never going to win their division, but they could at least outpace Alabama's defense. And so that's what you're seeing is more offensive coaches coming in. And then that's kind of where the SEC is going. But the difference is Saban has been like, yeah, if y'all want to do it this way, I can do it this way too. And that's what we're going to see again. Alabama, just to touch briefly back on the first part of the question. Let me back up. I think Hooker's going to have a great year at Tennessee. I think Rodgers is going to do great under Leach's system now, getting more playing time, getting more experience. That's going to be a dynamic offense to watch. It's Georgia and Alabama again. Alabama's got the best player on offense in the country, the best player on defense in the country, and Bryce Young and Will Anderson. And I think Georgia, their schedule, if they beat Oregon, they get Tennessee at home. They get Auburn at home. They get Florida and Jacksonville. In Jacksonville. Kentucky on the road. That's pretty much it. Maybe that Mississippi State game on the road is tricky, but I see it. Georgia and Alabama again in the SEC championship. And I think they both go to the playoff again.
All right, let's go one other place here. Shane, you brought it up, and I know not everybody. I don't know how much you got to listen preparing for this. Robbie makes a great point. When I listened to Josh Heupel's 25-minute speech at SEC Media Day, I heard a guy who is confident in his football team, confident in his program, and does not take a step back. So he doesn't come at this like, we're here to compete. As us fans, we sit here and we talk about 8-4, 9-3. He really thinks the goal at Tennessee is to get to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's building on what he's done in the last year, which was a really, really quick turnaround. One of the best offenses, top 10 in the country, and even the defense. They had so many tackles for loss and forced third down. They just didn't do so well in the red zone, and kind of struggled in that area a little bit. But I loved his speech. I loved what he had to bring with the questions. His answers were solid, and it looks like they're on a really good trajectory. Like I said, this was the first time I actually sat down and listened to him. And one of the comments he made that I really liked, somebody asked him, how do you keep focus in the locker room or something of that nature? And he said, less talk and more listen. He's really trying to listen to the players and what they need, what they're coming from, and really coming at coaching from that aspect instead of just, this is my system, you got to fit in or you don't. So I like that transition for Tennessee. We've seen success thus far, and I don't see why it would stop or continue to compound at this point.
Tom, you were listening to the Big Ten the other day, and you heard quite a bit from your favorite, non-favorite quarterback or coach, ex-quarterback. I was so upbeat, and when I listen to Harbaugh, it's almost in the tone and texture. You, as a Michigan fan, do you hear that negativity in tone and texture?
It's pretty much similar to my thinking as far as he just says a whole lot of nothing. And my question with Harbaugh is, how does he get recruits to come here? There was a reporter that asked, do you think let's not sugarcoat it, their non-conference this year is about as bad as it's been in probably the last 20 years. Schedule wise, it's very weak. So the reporter asked him, do you foresee in the future a stronger Power 5 schedule coming into Ann Arbor? And he looked at the guy with just the most blank look on his face, and he says, I don't know. And then he kind of gave him this look like he was stuck in a time warp. But that's Jim Harbaugh. He's strange. He sleeps on recruits' bedroom floors. And I think the media kind of harps on him because it gives you a whole lot of nothing. In 10 minutes of media day, he didn't answer any of the questions. He just kind of like danced around the subject, but that's him. So how he is in the locker room, how he is when he goes to visit these recruits, to me, he must put on a different show, because in the media and out here, he just looks completely lost, and he sounds like an 80-year-old science teacher that nobody wants to spend any time listening to.
He looks like a deer in the headlights. Like, it's like,
yes.
do you not realize you're coming to a press conference? Like, it's just like he looks like he's stunned that he's there, and I'm just like, what's wrong with him?
He looks so distracted and disconnected from what's going on, and like he's above it, like he doesn't even care. He's just here.
Not at all.
It's like, Marshawn Lynch. I'm here because
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Well, exactly.
One of the questions was, will there be a competition between JJ McCarthy and Cade McNamara? And his answer was, well, Cade's going to be he's had a really good camp, and he's going to be hard to beat out. And JJ's had a really good camp, and he's going to be hard to beat out. So he just says a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
There's got to be something else there, to get these recruits. I know he played there and he did well, and he's a big name per se at Michigan, but man, he is just not a personable guy.
No, in
the media whatsoever. So I find it hard to, have him come into your living room and be like, hey, you want to play for Michigan or not? Like, well, and I feel like that's how the conversation goes.
Yeah. And then the other thing is he's not really wanting to embrace the NIL like Josh Heupel is, which we talked about there a minute ago. He doesn't want to embrace it. He thinks the Block M should sell itself. But, Nick Saban had this issue. He was really apprehensive to the NIL, and he realized that either I'm going to embrace it or I'm going to lose recruits. And I really think that's going to happen with Michigan, if not for their new president, Santa Ono. Yeah, that's his name, Santa Ono, who is huge on athletics. And I really think he's going to push the envelope and kind of force Harbaugh's hands. Like, hey, you go down the street, Mel Tucker in East Lansing, and he's got relationships with car dealerships and all these different organizations out there. And he's rolling Bentleys and Mercedes-Benz out of the field, and these recruits are jumping in them, and that's their cars. So you're not going to be able to compete with that, especially in this state. And so he's got to embrace it.
Harbaugh and Sweeney are two coaches to watch. Like, both great coaches, both kind of odd, but if they don't adapt, they're going to be without jobs.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's be realistic here. Harbaugh checked out after he beat Ohio State. I think that was his mecca. He finally accomplished that. I'm not trying to be negative on Michigan here.
No, you're right.
Then he immediately goes for an interview to the Raiders, gets declined, and then he comes back ho hum, and it's just deer in the headlights from there on.
He went to Minnesota too.
Yeah, and he's not avidly recruiting NIL deals for these players. I just feel like it's just half-assed, and pardon my French, but I feel like he's just not in. He's there to collect a paycheck. He's clocking in. He's here to do media because he won't get fined. That's just the stigma that he's putting out right now, which is sad, because after beating Ohio State, that's a huge recruiting tool. And that's a huge feat. Look at where we're coming. Look at where we're going. Look at what we just did. Come on in. Now we got all these NIL deals. bringing in recruits. Like, I would think that would be advantageous to the recruiting process as opposed to dealing with Harbaugh in this point, which is, space guy. I mean, so I don't get it. And go ahead, Robbie.
I would say it's a bad look that he wanted an NFL job and they told him no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to Michigan. Like, it wasn't a,
And then the Michigan took him back to, like,
Yeah.
Which I guess they, at that point in time, there's no really other option. Maybe just ride it out for one more year and make him an assistant AD or something and put him on the shelf. But I don't know.
it was awkward, that's for sure.
Well, you could see even against Georgia, like just the life out of the team after that game. Like, and I get that's the big game, and it always has been in the Big Ten. Like, the Michigan-Ohio State game was like, if you win that game, you're good. Like, doesn't matter what happens. Screw national championship, whatever. That's like how we think in the Big Ten. And it just felt like they were just out of gas almost, and so was he. He got his trophy and he was done.
I want to get back to SEC real quick. Robbie, come to you. A great point. Is the most interesting battle this year in the SEC? We've got some great comments coming in. We'll get to it. Let me buy a minute with Robbie here. The most interesting battle in the SEC this year. Who is second, or who can compete with Georgia? And I think there's 3 football teams that you could throw a blanket over, and 3 very interesting quarterbacks. In South Carolina's Spencer Rattler. Of course, last year was talk about the number 1 draft pick, loses his job at Oklahoma, transferred to South Carolina. Hayden Hooker, who basically left Virginia Tech after a heart condition and lost his job. And then Will Levis, who's kind of played his way up the Kentucky system. I think all 3 guys get a shot at the NFL next year. But that's probably the best trio of quarterbacks those 3 schools have ever had together.
Yeah, so, and that's a great question. And so us that have followed the SEC and specifically the SEC East, look, for the last decade, Florida has been as much of a dumpster fire as Tennessee has been.
It has.
As far as hiring coaches, hiring the wrong coach. The thing is, though, no one has ever been in a position to put their foot on Florida's neck and keep them down. Right now, you have Kentucky with momentum. You have South Carolina with momentum. You have Tennessee with momentum. You have 3 schools all with coaches in place, all going the right direction, and Florida taking step 1 again. This might finally be the time where Florida drops down a peg and they finally get punished for their terrible hires, their terrible administration, and all these turnover and these mistakes they keep making. They've always had the natural in-state recruiting, but this could finally be the time. Now Kirby's got it rolling at Georgia. Obviously, Saban's had it running forever. They're taking this talent, and now you've got all this. So this may be Florida's wake-up call that it's not just automatic they're good at football anymore. So I think that's going to be the interesting thing to watch while you have Kentucky, Tennessee, and Carolina all on the upward trajectory while Florida's kind of finding their footing.
So I heard it described in the media that Florida is Tennessee, except they beat Tennessee. It's the same program, but they beat Tennessee every single year. So I
disagree with that. Also, quick question for you guys. Utah coming in as a 2.5-point favorite in Florida opening up.
Oh, I love Utah there.
I love you.
How do you – I know, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people on Florida just because it's in Florida, but
I will say this.
I think
Utah,
Florida gets waxed, and I think Florida gets a rude awakening quick.
Utah better get there 2 weeks ahead of time and practice, because there's nothing hotter than Gainesville in early September.
I've seen too many better Tennessee teams go to Florida at the second September and melt in the heat.
Yeah, it's the worst place in the world.
I'm going to take this down, but I just wanted you to notice
Literally the worst.
During live, from the Amsterdam red light district there.
Thank you.
This may be my
Thanks for
permanent
pointing
studio.
I'm glad you got the side chats on that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got the side chat. All right. I want to talk about the West. Then we're going to talk about Tennessee getting a notice of allegation. Then I got some great questions that we're just going to have to work in here that we want to talk about. In the West, it is obviously Alabama. Texas A&M closing the gap, I think. Ole Miss, as hot as Ole Miss has been, the crazy pirate at Mississippi State, Brian Kelly at LSU, Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Well, there's a lot of good football coaches out West right now. Is there anybody that you go, if I got $10, I'm going to put $10 on Texas A&M at 250? Brendan, anybody out West other than Alabama you would consider?
I'm a Mike Leach fan. I like that guy. So if I was just gonna throw $10 in a hat, I'd probably pull his name out.
All right, I can live with that. Tom, you got any?
Well, we'll go back to the off-season charade, we'll say, that happened between Saban and Jimbo Fisher. Saban pretty much called him out and about how he's recruiting, and then here a little while later, it turns out that Saban's doing the same thing and
absolutely the same thing
in Alabama. So I think Jimbo got a little chip on his shoulder, and if there was a team that could go in and take down Alabama, for the coach, I look at Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher. He is who he is. He's just kind of a knucklehead coach. Kind of falls into good situations, but from the standpoint of Saban pretty much calling him out, I think that gave him some fuel to really get his team motivated.
Robbie, he just said what I was going to say, but what about you?
No, I would say my $10. And I would just take Alabama. But if they do get beat, man, maybe LSU catches them slipping on a bye week. I mean, just kind of those back-to-back weeks.
Kelly.
I think it's going to take a turnover fest for Alabama to get beat this year in the regular season. Just
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think they roll into Atlanta against Georgia. The story, I mean, like the West is packed with storylines. But the biggest storyline to me is Auburn. And man, talk about Florida being a dumpster fire and Tennessee being a dumpster fire. Auburn, and they hire coaches, and then the boosters get pissed at them, and then there's internal investigation. Like they just hire and fire their own coaches all internally over and over and over again. Man, I bet he's got to go 8-4 to keep his job, and I just don't see 8 wins on that schedule, not in that division.
I think I'm not saying this is a prediction. This is not a prediction. Not a prediction. I do like Tennessee getting Alabama in Knoxville the week after they play Texas A&M. I do like that setup. If Alabama faces a threat,
don't even get your hope. Don't do it. Don't do it, Randall. Don't do it. Every year we do this thing.
I'm not.
Go ahead and put your money on it, boys.
Before we go to the
is that your bet? You're nuts?
No, the notice about. I want to talk about this, and we're going to jump around a little bit. So going out to San Francisco, friend of the show, Justin Thomas, is kind of we talked on and off. They cut forward today. Justin, I'm not saying Tennessee's going to beat Georgia, so I'm not saying it. It looks like San Francisco, he wants to know what we think about San Francisco being all in on Trey Lance. And it does appear Trey Lance is the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. Robbie, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Back to one of our first shows on the NFL draft day, I said this was one of the stupidest moves I've ever seen. them trading all those picks to jump up for an unknown college quarterback.
Hadn't played in a year.
Yeah, and I still think it's one of the dumbest moves. And now they're going all in on what they really haven't seen. Again, this is Kyle Shanahan trying to be the smartest man in the room, and he is intelligent. He's a great offensive mind. But yeah, pump the brakes, man. You went to the Super Bowl with Garoppolo. Like this is people make mistakes, and that's one thing. But to compound that by doubling down on your mistakes, that's when people fail. And that's what I think the 49ers are going towards.
I think it was a little bit of a mutual agreement between Jimmy G and the 49ers. And I think they were forced on their hand to make that announcement to go with Trey Lance. I think, Jimmy read the writing on the wall probably late of last year. Yeah, they're a really good potential Super Bowl team, and they proved that last year. I don't see much of a downgrade here, personally. I know we haven't seen a lot of Trey Lance, but we've seen a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo, and I haven't been that impressed with him. So I don't see a huge downgrade here. I see a lot more open playbook for Kyle Shanahan and what Jimmy G didn't do and what Trey Lance can do. So I'm anxious to see what happens here. And don't forget, you still got Deebo Samuel, which is quite a playmaker in all aspects, running, catching, throwing, whatever he wants to do.
And George Kittle. Yeah, George Kittle, I think when Garoppolo had his struggles, it was when Kittle wasn't on the field, when he was hurt. So he might be the best security blanket outside of Travis Kelce in the NFL to have. He brings a lot to that offense, and when he's plugging away, that makes Deebo that better. So it's a situation where, you got to have all hands on deck. Everyone's got to be healthy, and I think Shanahan's looking to be smarter than McVay down in LA, and he's, maybe it's a stretch, but me personally, I think they gave up on Garoppolo a little too fast. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I wonder why there hasn't been any interest in Garoppolo really from many teams.
He was just mediocre though. Like, I know their team around him was really good last year, but there was no real standout moments that I can take from last year from Garoppolo.
Well,
so
if you're a GM, why are you giving up much for Garoppolo when the Niners have put themselves in an awkward position? They're going to have to let him go anyways. So now I'd rather get him off waivers. I'm not giving up anything more than a 6th-round pick for him just because the Niners have botched this so bad.
So the
I agree.
The destination talked about for Jimmy G basically stepped themselves out of the conversation. Named Mariota the starter today. Wasn't even a competition. 2 days in, he's the starter. I want to get through Derek.
Sorry, Randall. I'm sorry.
First of all, about to your comment, Harbaugh's going to ride the win over Penn State and LSU or Ohio State. Oh, Lord have mercy. Hold on just a minute. Basically, you can see it. He's agreeing with what you were saying there, Tom. But he does have another comment. Anything you want to add to that? You think it's just nightmares in Ann Arbor this year, or?
Well, he said one thing that I think Michigan fans have been waiting for him to say, that beating the Spartans is a goal. I think for him, it's always been just another game. The only game to him was Ohio State, but obviously the last several years, Michigan State's kind of had their number, and I think a lot of people didn't feel like they were respecting Michigan State enough. So his goal in the season was to beat MSU and OSU in the same year. So that was kind of a surprise coming out of that presser.
So before we jump to the next subject, Robbie, you've been to Ben Hill, Derek Jasper. If Graders are going to win, it's going to take a monsoon that weekend. You've been to Ben Hill Griffin affectionately known as the Swamp. I am permanently banned. Thank God. I was arrested and released from the Swamp that has kept me from going back since 1997. One of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. Yes, Dennis Maney, I haven't been back since 1997 and will never go back. But we often hear the Big Ten teams say, come north in the winter, come north in the winter. I'm of the ilk. Going north in the winter, come to Gainesville. Come to Baton Rouge. They're two of the tougher places to play in August and September in college football. I think just because it's a different kind of hot. You've been there for a Tennessee, Alabama, or Tennessee, Florida game.
There's nothing to describe. I mean, it's nasty. It's hot. It's
swamp.
Usually a 3:30 game. It's miserable. There's no you can't drink a cocktail. The ice melts. Like you just can't do anything. It's awful. Look, the Swamp, the atmosphere in the Swamp is one of the best atmospheres in college football. It's great to go and see it, but there's never a reason to go back once you've done it once. And I've been there 4 or 5 times, and every time I hate it.
It's horrible. Snowman,
and the fans aren't even nice. Gainesville, Florida, just sucks. Like
it is.
The bars suck. The parking sucks. The campus sucks. Everything sucks about it.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
Yeah.
Our friend Chris Adams was arrested or given a ticket in Florida at an Alabama-Florida game because he was on the sidewalk with a beer, but he could have it on the grass. And that's what you feel like every time you go down there for a game. That if you drink a beer in the wrong spot, you're going to jail. Last question, then we'll get back on Tennessee getting NIL. Again from Derek. I think this is going to be the last one. I think this is valid, especially heading to the fantasy season. And no, Robbie, we're not asking for fantasy advice either. What role, and I was going to bring this up when we got the last week and I forgot it. Debo playing running back and wide receiver. This can't last. And he hates it. And I think it's hard on his body. And Arden Struggins, Florida, I hate them. They're ugly. I agree with you. Even though you're a Bulldog, I agree with you about Florida. If you're San Francisco, what do you do with Debo at this point? Give him a contract, tell him he's going to be a wide receiver, or what? Start with you, Shane.
I think you keep doing what you've been doing. I mean, this guy is a Swiss Army knife, and he's the best at it. Let him run, throw him the ball, whatever you can do to get the ball in that guy's hands, that's what you do. He's the best player on the field. Second to Kittle. I'd say Kittle's second to him slightly. You get the ball in his hands however you can figure out how to do that. And that's his role right now. And he's going to need it more this year than ever, especially with Lance at the helm.
I love this comment from Justin. Tallahassee in October 2015, I got a sunburn. When I got back to Tennessee, it was 36 degrees. You got to know it to understand it. I'm with you, buddy. Tom, you are an NFL guy. Debo, where do you rank him in the wide receiver group, talent-wise?
Right now, I mean, you think with his abilities, he's top 5. You know, at worst, top 10. And you're seeing other teams kind of copycat what the 49ers doing, a la my Detroit Lions last year, lined up Amon-Ra St. Brown quite a bit in the offseason behind the backfield and got him the ball specifically when MCDC Dan Campbell took over the play calling duties. So I think he's kind of revolutionized the position. He's more of a hybrid type of player. He's a fantasy football juggernaut, we'll say. Top 10. He's so strong. His legs are so powerful, and you know, you can line him up anywhere on the field, and I think that's valuable. So definitely top 10, if not top 5.
Robbie, of all the running backs you're going to draft in the first 3 or 4 rounds, what priority do you have on Debo?
So this is going to be one of the storylines to watch. This is the definition of don't F with my money kind of situation. And I wonder what his contract looks like. If it's every 100 catches there's a bonus. Because whenever they start handing him the ball with this unproven quarterback, or he's not getting the ball as receiver, it starts docking his pay or his potential bonuses and all that. There's going to be a rift in this whole locker room. They're wanting to play college football kind of, and while I grant you that it works as a team, but you're talking about a guy who's already unhappy. And if it starts docking his money, the locker room's going to be unhappy with that. And so that's just something to keep an eye on. As far as your question for fantasy, I liked him a lot better as a receiver with Garoppolo. I think he's going to be much more of a running back per se with Trey Lance. And I got to see how defense is going to react. I mean, it's going to be hard because are they going to stack the boxes and dare him to throw? I'm not buying this 49ers team.
I think he's going to be a huge safety blanket, though, especially for Trey Lance coming out. If he's in the backfield.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, because he can run those routes. He can run a quick out. He can, slant over the middle, hot route, whatever. I think he's more important this year with Trey Lance at the helm than he was with Garoppolo.
Man, if you only got one option, they could defensive coach.
Well, you don't. Too. You got Kittle and, there's a slew of wide receivers that I can't name because I don't know them, but you got Kittle.
I just don't trust Lance. That's just why.
So I like this comment. Until he got hurt, McCaffrey was the best two-way wide receiver running back in the NFL, and I think that's to the point. All right, guys.
He get hurt every year.
Here's a decision that I just made with the amount of people watching and asking questions. Next week, it is returning. The River City open phone number. If you want to call in, ask a question as we get close to football, we'll take a 15-minute segment every week and let you call in. And if we get calls, great. If we don't, we'll see how it goes. Last time, we just didn't get enough calls. If you want to make this work.
Can we get someone to call 911 and find out where Raj is?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is going on? Did he think today's Tuesday?
I don't know. I haven't called him. He's probably waiting on me to call him. I just Raj, if you're show up, hey, 911, Bolo, be on the lookout. 30-ish Indian, usually playing fantasy sports, wearing a Dodgers hat. Bolo.
Yeah. Are the Dodgers playing tonight? He's probably watching it.
They played this afternoon.
Yeah, they played this afternoon.
He's probably on a plane back from LA then right now or something.
He is in LA.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He told us last week he'd be on his way to LA.
He's at his sister's house. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Raj
that's a very good excuse, Raj. Glad you laid that out for us when we remembered.
Yeah. I'm glad I remembered. All right. And I'm glad I cut some subjects from this week's show because I've got at least take just a minute with Tennessee getting its notice of allegations.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Just a little bit what it said. It said Tennessee basically supplied $60,000 to recruits. They did not sign. And included in that, though, was a player who was currently enrolled in campus, much valued in the media. That was Trey Smith. It matches up with the dates and some of the facts and figures. I think 4 of the 5 names that have been leaked involved are never signed with Tennessee. Now, there were some people that left Tennessee in the midst of this. Key Lawrence, Henry Tototo, Henry T. that's down at Alabama, Key Lawrence that's at Oklahoma, the running back that went to Oklahoma. No proof in the numbers that it was those guys or any names. But the NCAA, and this is all we're going to talk about, the NCAA said the following thing, that Tennessee acted with first of all, they didn't get hit with the lack of institutional control, and basically said they run the playbook perfectly for a school that has had violations. Now, this is lawyer speak, and I expect it to have two lawyers on here, but we'll go to a lawyer first. Robbie, what I read is the NCAA saying, I got no teeth to really enforce this, so I'm going to make it look, I got nothing I can do here, so we're going to have to work out something with Tennessee. As a Tennessee fan, I felt a lot better after I read that no lack of institutional control, everyone fired, ran a perfect investigation. How did you feel as a lawyer?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those this is the essential, hey, on the front end, can we make some kind of agreement where everyone looks okay and we just move on? Because on the back end, if NCAA, if you serve me with anything, I don't give a crap what you have to say because you have zero teeth. Like, there's none. And so, yeah, it's just like, hey, we've got you. The NCAA, we've got you. We don't really have anything to do, but we've got you. Can you all play nice? And can we all just make it look like we have some kind of control still? And we'll just all move on. Because, look, let's be honest. If they're really after people that were cheating, all right, let's assume every allegation is true. Well, let me track down every bit of these people that turned down the $12,000, $15,000 in cash and didn't go to Tennessee. Where'd you end up? And why'd you go there?
For 30 or 40,000.
They got a better deal.
Yeah, and so it's like, yeah, they're not after the truth. They're just, like, the whistle got blown, and they're like, yeah, we got to investigate. And Tennessee did the right thing, I guess, in this situation. Like, yeah, man, what do you want to know? This is what happened. This is what we think happened. Yeah, let's all call it a day. You know, you've got your investigators who are still on staff. You've got your people. You're getting money. The dog and pony show rolls on. But yeah, if you try to come at us with anything really, then no, we're taking our ball. Like, we're calling the SEC and being like, hey, let's go. Let's all leave.
So, Tom, as a Big Ten guy, I was going to ask you a question. This was big noise for about 24 hours and then went away. Is that the way that all NCAA investigations going to go now? They really don't have the teeth to enforce nothing, and really, if the school calls them in, they'll investigate, and then, I mean, it seems like it's a crippled organization to me.
Especially now that the NIL is, so hot and it's on everyone's radar. Look at Ohio State, for example. C.J. Stroud had a relationship with a car dealership. No, he didn't like the car. Wanted a better car. He got hooked up with another car dealership, driving a $500,000 SUV to campus. But it kind of takes any kind of investigation out of it. I mean, they can say it came from, player or, person 2 or B, whatever. And the reality is, the school is negotiating it. So the violations, really, I think they'll be more in-house if you ever see them anymore, which I'd be surprised. And I think this is an indication with Tennessee that the NCAA knows they have a monster on their hands, and there's really no way to stop it.
Brandon, did it look worse? And I mean, this is really like what turned my stomach. And everybody knows I have ranted on this show about Jeremy Pruitt, my previous relationship with Jeremy Pruitt, my relationship with Jeremy Pruitt's dad. I've known the Pruitt family for 30 years. But did it shock you that his wife's name was in the allegations and that she had personally delivered payments to student athletes?
No, I mean, not at all. I mean, this is it's an all-in deal, and this is the last fizzle of the NCAA in any type of sanction or allegations or throwing their weight around. I mean, they even announced that the UT is the standard in cooperation.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? I mean, that means nothing at this point because there will never be another investigation on these kind of allocations again because of NIL. So it's asinine to me at this point. Like you said, I think it's like Robbie said, it is the NCAA trying to say, hey, we still want our name in the hat. Can you just play nice? We're all going to play nice. And there's been talks about potential bowl bans. I bet there'll be a show cause for Pruitt.
Oh yeah, he's done.
Yeah, he's done. As far as a bowl ban or a self-inflicting bowl ban, absolutely not. That's nonsense. The direction Tennessee's headed, the power that they have now with the conference that they're in and these super conferences forming, to even say that they're going to self-inflict a bowl ban or that could even happen, it's not going to happen.
Well, and just money-wise, the NCAA still owns the NCAA tournament, and that brings in about $1 billion a year. That's peanuts compared to what college football brings in.
Exactly.
And the schools can be like, you have that damn tournament.
That is the only thing they have.
Yeah, we'll create our own.
Only thing they have.
We'll do a Big Ten SEC tournament of the year, invite some small schools in. Like, we can copycat that without a problem.
Yeah, and stop meddling in football where you don't belong. You hold no power here.
I think the one thing that Tennessee does that kind of placates everything, and I talked about it a lot on the show last year, they played with 69 kids. That was 16 below their limit. They have going to play with 85 this year, which is another 5 below their limit. I don't think
most teams are 90, 95.
Yeah, I don't think they could have got more than 69 in as late as Heupel got there.
Yeah.
And kids that transferred. It is a self-imposed penalty, but it was a penalty that was going to happen either way. So let's move on. We caught up a little bit of time there. And it's funny, we go from penalties into the NIL. And I want to talk about the NIL just for a minute. We'll get back on track because we have the greatest segment in River City Media coming up. Why NASCAR hates Robbie Davis. And I'm just going to start it there when we get there. And I'm going to get off camera and put Robbie out front. And then we'll all just sit there and look at Amsterdam at midnight. But I want to talk about this. And we had it on the group chat. I've got it to play. First of all, I want to say a couple of comments. Recently at the Big Orange Caravan, which for you that don't know, Tom, is a local event held for we call it the Vol Fund, donors to the program. And the coaching staffs come out and do a little 15-minute speech. Heupel's point at the time is he felt like NLI had caused kids to be aware of what their brand is and want to keep their brand clean. An effort of the kids themselves to self-police themselves. And at the time, it made sense. But then when you start thinking about, in the case that's rumored of Nico that signing with Tennessee this fall, received $8 million outside of Coach Heupel, he will be the highest paid person connected with the Tennessee program. So Deion Sanders released on YouTube Shorts a little statement and a little talk. And of course, Deion now head coach of Jackson State. And I want to play that for everybody right now.
NCAA, you got a little problem. Let me explain. See, with the NILs, which really ain't NIL because ain't no name, image, and likeness. It's just pay-per-view right now. That's what they doing to the big boys. The boys, we can't compete with that. But anyway, you got a problem. See, when you start paying athletes like they're professionals, you get athletes acting like they're professionals. And you don't have staffs large enough and equipped enough to handle a young man with money. Let me go deeper. Handle a young man that's making more money than some of the coaches on staff. You got a real problem. So I suggest to you to allow college teams to hire more qualified men, that can handle these young men that's getting this money.
So, Robbie, you replied back immediately and said Deion's not wrong. Explain your thought pattern in that.
Well, let me just juxtapose a few
big word
young athletes that have been in our generation. Look, obviously the brand, the clean image, the person Josh Heupel, I assume, has in his mind is LeBron James, who has literally marched almost perfectly through childhood stardom all the way through, never got in trouble, always did the right thing. For every one of those, though, there are, your people that get rich early, your Kwame Browns, your people that get the money and blow it. You look at Adrian Peterson, Hall of Fame running back, broke. And it's like, these are tragic, tragic stories, because getting the money is one thing, keeping it's a whole nother level. And when you get it at 18 or 17, and all of a sudden, look, I'm making this is the 200,000, 500,000. That's a whole heck of a lot of money for anybody, but it's not lifetime money. And that's where I worry that these kids, oh, I've got 500K now in the bank. Oh, I don't need to practice. I don't need to go pro. I'm set. No, you're not. And not when you have to deal with, whether you come from a upper class background, a middle class background, a low class background. You get that kind of money instantly. People are wanting you to, whether it's good intentions or bad intentions or neutral intentions. Hey, invest in this. I've got an idea. And it may seem great. That money dwindles fast. So I would like to see some kind of, hybrid. Like, yes, these guys can get paid, and almost like what happens in a court system. When if I have minor children that are injured, right? So the insurance companies will have to pay it, and it's usually paid into the court or paid into some mutual fund, and they can access that money when they're 25. Now the court can say at their discretion, we'll give the family $10,000 or $100,000 depending on the settlement, and we give you that money to live on now to help the family. But this big chunk of it, it needs to stay until you get your stuff together. You look at, if y'all remember Allen Iverson's contract with Reebok. Reebok did that for him, and he's eternally grateful for them. Now, he blew a lot of money, but now has this nest egg that when he became 35 or something like that, it was there, and he was mature enough to get it. Yeah, and so I wish there was just something more than just, like, the kids deserve the money. They deserve to get paid. But I wish there were some safeguards to it.
Well, and here's my point. I think it falls on the education of this whole NIL thing, whether it be on your agent, whether it be in the college ranks. There needs to be some new kind of financial education.
Can the kids they can't have agents though, right? No.
Okay, so whatever. I don't care if it's your dad or your counselor at college. There's got to be some type of higher financial education with these NIL deals. I mean, because like we had on group thread, I started my business when I was 21, and I thought I was going crazy and just, stupid spending for no reason. And by no means was I making anything close to what these kids were, but I thought I had a lot of money. And you're a kid. I mean, you go buy 5 PlayStations, and you want to do whatever, buy cars for your friends and all this stuff. And there needs to be a higher level of education on the financial end, whether it be implicated in the college, in their academics with these NIL deals, or something has to change. And it's not the kid's fault that they're good and they get all this money. It's the responsibility of that university, in my thought, is to take on that responsibility and educate them in the financial aspect of it.
And Brandon, we joke a lot with you, and it is jokes. You did start your business early and young. Do you think the mismanagement of some of your personal finances early on, like, is there for these young people? Was a struggle also because you were taking more than you thought?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was, at the time when I started my business, I was living with my sister. My rent was like $400 a month, a car payment, and I had maybe $700 a month in bills with everything, and I was making way more than that a week, and I thought I had everything, and just I was going out, I was buying everybody's drinks and tabs, and trying to be the cool guy and the friend guy, and it just you got to be responsible, and I was still 21, which, these kids are much younger than that.
Yeah.
16, 17, 18, 19, whatever. There's a lot of responsibility there that needs to be taught. And, no one ever taught that to me.
Tom, heading your way, there's talk of Texas A&M spending $26 million on their signing class. We are Aspire Sports locally who have said that their goal is $100 million over 4 years, which is $25 million a year for NIL. And if you go to Aspire right now, there's a place that you could donate. Price of season tickets went down, and I believe in my heart a lot of that was so fans would take that money and then give it to the NIL. I personally did some of it. NIL really is a different creature if you don't understand it.
Well, I think first off, do the kids deserve to get paid? I mean, when the schools are making money hand over fist, absolutely. So we'll start with there. My biggest fear is that I think the biggest problem we have with the younger generation, growing up is the entitlement. Now you take Bryce Young, for example. I mean, he made $7 million allegedly in NIL deals before he took a snap. What is that telling kids coming in about the grind and the kids that come in, take Baker Mayfield, for example, walked on Texas Tech, walked on at Oklahoma, and he won a Heisman Trophy. These kids, I think the entitlement with the NIL is how much is that going to affect their willingness and their drive or their pride. One thing with college athletics was, these kids are really playing for something. They're playing to get to that next level. And now and these kids are making millions upon millions of dollars as a collegiate athlete. How serious are they going to take the games that really don't really matter much in their minds? But and I agree with Sanders, Dion, Coach Prime. He's nailed it. How are you as a secondaries coach? What are you making at Jackson State? 30, 40 grand a year, if that. How are you going to convey a message to a kid that's making $2-3 million a year in endorsement deals? He's going to look at you like you're small potatoes. And I think that's the point he's trying to make, that the money's great. They deserve it. Yeah, absolutely. But what's it going to do to the integrity of the game? My thinking is once NIL took off, it was out of control before anybody really could blink. It should have been thought about. There should have been some sort of a regulation, maybe some sort of a cap put in place, because it's kind of total anarchy. These schools are, doing whatever they want, going after different businesses however they want. And so you take it in that regard, these kids are going to go to the schools that have more to offer them, not just an education. And how much of the integrity of the sport are we going to lose with a kid that's feeling entitled as the day is long? And that's my biggest fear.
Did any of y'all happen to see the Mike Leach plan that he laid out?
No.
So this was probably one of the best ideas, and I'll be brief on it, and we're running long. But essentially what he said is, for college football, there's two tracks, right? There's the college athlete track and there's the professional track. If you're the college athlete track, you get – so, hey, 95% of the players, I'm a college sport athlete, I'm hoping to go pro. So you enroll in the school. If you stay at that school and you graduate within 4 or 5 years, you get your scholarship, your boarding, all the stuff you normally get your scholarship. and you get a $250,000 bonus for graduation. And so that keeps you at the school. You get your diploma. You get $250,000 when you're done. If you're on the professional track, you go out. You get none of that, but you can go out there get your NILs. You can do that. If you want to transfer, if you want to bounce around, you can do that. If you want to go pro, well, obviously the NFL has to accommodate that, but you can bounce around. You can play what you want to play. You can do what you want to do. You do on your own, and then go pro. But it's kind of like just because there has to be some balance and some kind of system in place.
Yeah. No, this is like a perfect analogy from what Tiger said.
Oh, the live
on
tour.
the PGA versus the live tour.
Come in.
Like you can go and get paid all this money or whatever, but what is there to work for? Like, what gets you up in the morning to go practice? And that's, I think, to your point, Tom, that's what we're going to miss in college football. Is that heart and that drive, and what we all love about college football is seeing these kids give everything they have to their school, to that field, and watch it, on live TV versus, now I can cruise. I've got $8 million, and who cares if I, am a fifth round pick in the NFL.
Mike Wilbon made a analogy today on PTI and was essentially like, be careful, NCAA or college sports. This is what boxing looked like. Boxing was once one of the most popular sports. It got crazy and lost all regulations, and then it was just too much drama, and people stopped watching it.
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine, but
people watch college football for heart,
Yeah.
and that's what your alma mater, like the team you love, the kids that bleed and give everything they have for that.
You're losing that.
You're losing that. You're losing that.
Yeah.
I think,
and I don't care how much money you give these kids. Like, they can say, "Oh, they're still there for it." They're not going to be. They're not going to be.
Well, the kid at Ohio State was there for a damn time to make a peanut butter sandwich, and then transferred back to Texas.
Oh, Quinn Ewers?
Yeah.
That was the first NIL transaction and transfer portal deal that this country's seen, and how it happened, because he came out of high school early.
He left early,
He left early just so he could get that deal, and then knew he was going back. He played one down at Ohio State, and transfers back or whatever. I hope we see him sometime and rip his blonde hair out.
I want to sum this up with a little bit. I'm around a lot of kids that are just being recruited. And while most of them aren't going to NIL schools, with a young man, you've seen shows on here that he signed with Georgia Tech. And I don't think anybody going to Georgia Tech just to play football. It's definitely a place you go for education. But as we were interviewing him and as the course of his recruiting come along, even him, they were very aware of NIL. Because NIL, we forget that NIL may be $8 million to Nico, or $1 million for a wide receiver to sign at Ohio State, as rumored. A couple of the wide receivers, greatest wide receiver class ever put together this year at Ohio State. There's also kids that are doing it the right way. And I think one of the things that I do not want to get lost in this is I absolutely believe kids that go to the lower Division I level can play well enough to move up in their career. And I don't think that's a bad thing. You see people leaving. This year we saw a defensive end leave Buffalo and go to Florida State. Right now, Tennessee's in need of a running back. And here was my point to this. Tennessee's in need of a running back right now, a week before camp is starting. And they are bringing in that are currently in the portal. Kobe Lewis from Central Michigan was one. Now I think they're bringing in another this week. that to me is the best part of this, is a kid can better himself, better his playing time, move levels of the school. To me, the worst of this we might be seeing with the Nair kid that was from Colorado State that committed to Tennessee, got ready to sign his NLI deal, got a call from Texas, got a better NIL deal, left Tennessee without even visiting Texas, goes down there and immediately signs his NIL. That is full-blown free agency. So even though it's wrong for what 20% of them doing, 80% of them are using it the right way. So we've got to find a way to manage it that allows it to still stay in place.
Yeah. All I can say is
likeness is necessary.
That next July, this is gonna keep me up all night whenever EA Sports brings back college football. I'm gonna be like, where is my NIL money? Where's my pocket? What am I spending this on? I gotta get this quarterback. You better give me some boosters here. And there's gonna be like virtual recruiting booster luncheons. Like, hey, here's a hat to pass around.
Yeah, you're gonna have to feed them to it. No, it's reckless speculation. It's still in the infant stages of this NIL transfer portal deal right now. So,
why's my hostel on the big screen?
That's late night Amsterdam right there.
About your time.
No, I'm. As much as we're kind of naysayers on the whole NIL and it's ruining college football deal, I'm not one to sit back and just say, let's wait, but I'm going to be this time, let's just sit back and wait and see how this plays out. There's got to be regulations coming because it is a free for all. And I hope to God, just for the kids themselves and, the kind of leaps and bounds they can make in college, staying a year or two longer versus, making $5 or $6 million and trying to go to the NFL and then fizzling out in 2 years. So I hope it works out, but there's a lot to be seen. So I don't want to jump the gun yet.
What's going to be interesting is if any state makes a law against it and sees how that's going to play out. You would think it'd be California first to do it. And wouldn't that be ironic? UCLA and USC jumped over to the Big Ten, and then all of a sudden,
Newsom's not happy about it.
Newsom is not happy about it. He's wanting UCLA to come in. I think it was Stuart Mandel. Newsom was like, I want to know explicitly what makes this a good move. And Stuart Mandel was like, the money?
Dollar bills?
We'll avoid NIL for a few weeks. Charles Williams Jr., welcome. Always a privilege to get a new listener in. Go Big Orange and White, whichever. I thought you were an LSU fan, but now I think you may be a Vol fan. But welcome either way. We love opinions coming in. All right, Robbie, you've got the screen. I've got to go to the bathroom, a rare occurrence on this show, but I have this segment set up, so I'm going to have time to do that. So we're going to go to our segment 3, or as I call it, Robbie Davis goes nuts. So
NASCAR hates Robbie.
NASCAR hates you. They do not like you. They resent you. They don't like the hat you got on, don't like the shirt you got on, don't like your COVID basement.
They don't like Amsterdam.
NASCAR week took your greatest moment away from you. Robbie Davis, you had the top 4 spots in the race, picked in order, and you made $0 and 0 cents. Please tell me what happened.
Yeah, so for those of you who didn't watch, it was Pocono in Pennsylvania up in the mountains. One of the unique tracks in NASCAR. It's a triangle, so you have 3 turns, but all of them are different angles. So it really makes for a fantastic track. One of the ones that NASCAR doesn't own, so it keeps it a little little funky. After being wrong all year long with this new generation car, next generation, whatever they're calling it, I was confident. I wasn't on here last week because of my early stages of COVID, but I was texting the guys like, look, it's going to be a Toyota. It's going to be a Toyota. I'm confident of this. Then looking back on it, I was like, all right, so really like Hamlin here, really like him. And I was like, all right, so bet Hamlin on right after I watched qualifying on Saturday. So bet Hamlin. And then I was confident. And then I was like, you know what? Saturday or Sunday morning, I'm sitting here. I'm like, you know what? I think Hamlin was plus 550. Kyle Busch, the other Toyota, was plus 500. So, you know what? I'll throw some money on Kyle Busch too. I think it's going to be one of those two. So watching the race, Hamlin's out in front, starts the pole, wrecks on his own on the very first turn, loses control, hits the wall. And I'm like, well, this is what kind of day it is. He fights back. He and Busch are battling the whole time. Teammates. And so, they're supposed to be kind of working together, both trying to win. But I'm sitting there, 2 laps to go. Hamlin's in first, Busch is in second. I'm like, either way, look, money's in the bank. In my fantasy NASCAR, I've also got Chase Elliott, who's number 3, and Reddick, who's number 4. So I'm like, dude, I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm sitting pretty. Not only going to win NASCAR, I've got these two bets down. So it finishes. Hamlin wins, so plus 55. So I think I bet $50 on him, which would have won $453. I'm not great at math, but would have won some money. And then I got my fantasy winnings. All of a sudden, and so I'm looking at the Caesars app, and it just keeps pending and pending and pending. And like Hamlin's already got the trophy done the spin. I got the flag, and then I'm starting to sense something's wrong. And I'm like, okay, let's assume Hamlin fails post-race inspection, which has not happened since 1960 for a winner. I'm like, let's just say it happens. That's cool. I got Busch. I don't win as much money, but still clear the day. Still good. Well, yeah. So again, they were teammates.
Same team.
So their same interpretation of the rules were inaccurate. So they both failed the inspection. So they both get disqualified. So they finished 34 and 35th respectively, which kills my bets, kills my fantasy NASCAR. I went from a great day to a horrible day. Now I'm all pissed off. And Tom, at least you got to watch a good race when nothing else was on. It was a good race. It was exciting, but the outcome, I just couldn't believe it. And I think what happened was on the –
I know exactly what happened, yeah.
It was a front bumper. They put just an extra layer of tape on there.
It was over the wheel openings.
Yeah.
And the fascia on both wheel openings, they put an extra 2-inch piece of tape over each wheel opening.
And it's just like, are you kidding me? And it's one of those things like you never know, does it matter or not? I mean, obviously they both ran 1 and 2, so it probably helped. But
a piece of 2-inch tape, like it's like, really? How does that disqualify you from?
Yeah, what's like? How do you even figure that out?
How does that make a race or not make a race? So I don't know. Whatever.
And as somebody who, I mean, obviously I am very new to NASCAR. I have to admit I've probably watched less than 5 in my lifetime. Hearing that there's a disqualification because tape, how petty is NASCAR getting to at this point? For me, it was exciting coming from Detroit. We have hockey here, and one of the things that we love about hockey are the fights. I love when they crash, the cars crash in, and seeing the other drivers, weave in and out. To me, that was exciting. It slows the pace of the race down, but all in all, it was pretty exciting to follow. But to say that you're going to lose because of a 2-inch piece of tape. I mean, that's kind of
ridiculous. That's equivalent to tar in the glove in the MLB.
Well, I mean, the fact that the Gibbs Racing didn't appeal either of them, like it must have been a no-no. But yeah, Hamlin wrecking Chastain at the end, because Chastain has wrecked Hamlin 2 other races prior, so they've got some back and forth. So some of the rivalries are really heating up.
Didn't I read though that the sports betting sites go based on poll or podium results? So what I was reading that really wasn't going to affect.
No,
it's payouts,
it's all too real. It did affect.
Okay, yeah, because the story I read, it said that it probably wouldn't affect people that had the betting line or whatever. So apparently it was.
So from what I heard, a lot of people got their money back, but they didn't get any of the winnings.
Well, so I think it's 2 different things. So casinos, like you'll go and cash in your ticket right away. But online, they think they held it.
No, online. I've read several people say that they got their money deposited immediately, and then they withdrew it, and then they had to, fight that, and then they at least got their initial bet back. But they didn't.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
About 10 o'clock on Sunday night, Robbie Davis with COVID.
Man, and what a pick!
Drunken meltdown over NASCAR.
It was, and
ever.
And he he's been struggling to pick the winners. He's been Kyle Larson all day, and he finally picks, not even one, but back to back, 1 and 2 right here. And I was tooting my own horn at the same time for my picks for the golf, but that was also impressive until it wasn't.
Yeah.
We got a 12-way chat with all of our guys in the fantasy league, and they were reaching around, patting their back so hard you couldn't get a word in, and then all of a sudden it went to Robbie just in, like I thought we were going to have to call a counselor into the group chat. But here's the thing that left me just kind of stunned is I felt like it was a great race, and Tom, you're not a NASCAR guy like me, but even that race was enjoyable. For it to end that way left me with a sour taste in my mouth, and it again tells me why I don't like NASCAR. Do you think that kind of stuff pushes fans away, Robbie?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think the technicality of it is because you watch the movies and it's it's racing and you just want to go and who's the best driver. And yeah, so a lot of that technicality, the nerd stuff about it. Yeah. And I mean, especially when you hear like, yeah, it's tape and like, does that really affect you that much? And especially like, when was it put on? Was it put on? Because I mean, like in the pit, they'll use duct tape to repair things. They'll repair it by any means necessary. And so it's like, when was that put on? Was it obviously, since it happened to both cars, you think it probably was pre-race and premeditated. So yeah, but you never want to see the winners disqualified, especially something that hasn't been done since 1960. Like, I think there could have been we'll certify the win, and here's a $500,000 fine. Don't do it again. I think that's what people would rather see, something like that.
I agree with you. Now we're running. I want to move on, and thank you, Robbie, for expanding your pain to everyone in the nation. We all enjoyed feeling it and seeing it with you. But I don't want to leave this last subject hanging for next week, and if everybody can bear with us 10 more minutes, we'll wrap up the show as normal. But I think it's a huge deal. And I am a fan every year of Hard Knocks, and not just a casual fan. Like, I've got DVDs, like back when you would buy the seasons, sitting around here, and I on Amazon Prime, I just finished up the Cardinals year last year. I think it's some of the best TV in sports. We got the announcement, I believe it was yesterday, Tom. Your Detroit Lions are going to be featured on Hard Knocks this year. And I'm excited because I think it could be a complete meltdown or really a great season. What was your take on the Lions being the Hard Knocks team for 2022?
Well, I think as a fan, it's exciting. There's always been grumblings of the Lions getting in the Hard Knocks, the past several years. So I think it's TV gold. Dan Campbell is a personality times 10. He's like today. He's at camp doing up downs with the team. He's dressed up. He's got his cleats on. He's got his tape, wrist taped, and he's doing calisthenics with his team. I think he's going to be somebody that is going to draw a lot of people towards the Lions. And then you take personalities like Jamal Williams, who used to be in Green Bay a couple years ago. This guy's going to find the camera. People are going to fall in love with the team. And usually the teams that are doing Hard Knocks have benefited from it and got some good notoriety. And we're excited. We're really excited as Lions fans that it's because the way they're doing everything, the way they're operating as a team. Rich could tell you here, the front or office, everything, every aspect of the Lions has been absolutely putrid in previous years. They're finally getting it right. So even to the point where Megatron said he's going to be the, mentor for Jameson Williams. So I think it's really going to be a good thing for the Lions. And I think the fan that doesn't know a whole lot about the team, about the, specifically the coach, they're going to get a good idea. And it's exciting. I know everybody around here is pretty pumped up about it. So it's a good thing.
All right, Robbie Davis. Detroit Lions, I think we were vastly apart on our predictions for the Lions going into the season. So far, I think I'm the only guy that predicted the Lions to go to the playoffs. So I'll live with that prediction.
That's bold.
Is the Lions to watch on Hard Knocks?
Oh yeah, Hard Knocks is it's awesome. I mean, it's what you want to see behind the scenes of what happens in these training camps. I mean, there's ESPN 30 for 30s. My wife loves to watch them, and she loves Hard Knocks. That's the sporting shows she loves. It's just so fascinating the play-by-play and just what these guys go through. And yeah, Campbell's going to be great on it. I don't know if he's going to be Rex Ryan level, but he's going to be close to that. It's going to be very entertaining.
Very caffeinated.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tony.
I've never been a huge fan of Hard Knocks, but I will tune in for this. I love Dan Campbell, but I don't think Hard Knocks bodes well for the NFL translation and actual football play. It's good entertainment. Typically, the teams that have been on there have not done well. But
about that with the Lions.
It's what I'm saying. Maybe this could be a win for the Lions here this time around. So I'm a big fan of Dan Campbell. He's going to be hot for TV, and I'm rooting for him. I hope something good comes out of this.
Now there is a certain criteria you have to meet to become the Hard Knock team. You have to be one of the lower teams. I think you have to finish in the bottom 6. You can't have been on Hard Knocks in the last number of years.
Really?
Yeah.
You've done way too much research on that.
It is definitely.
I have no idea. I don't even watch Hard Knocks. Again, you have me at Dan Campbell just because I love this guy, and this is the first time I will ever tune in to Hard Knocks just because of him.
Oh, it's great TV.
Tom, what do you want to see on Hard Knocks? Who do you want those positions? I mean, one of the things I'm interested in is how are they handling Jameson Williams? Is he going to be ready in October, November, December? When's he going to get on the field? Who are they going to keep DeAndre Swift healthy? Who's going to win that backup quarterback job? There's a lot of stories in this training camp.
It starts with, Jared Goff. In this town, it's about 50-50. You have your people that are for him, and you got a lot of people that think he's a bust. You look at what he kind of did once Anthony Lynn was pretty much stripped of his play calling duties, and Campbell took over along with Ben Johnson. He kind of propelled, and I think they made the offense a little more understandable for him. Obviously, they got some great play out of the receivers that they didn't expect, like Amon-Ra St. Brown. But yeah, I mean, keeping him upright is the key. I think DeAndre Swift's hungry, injury prone, so he's going to look to have a great year. To me, the key to this season is TJ Hawkinson. He's been the ballyhoo tight end for the last 2 years. He has not lived up to his draft status, we'll say. I think it weighs a lot on him. If he can stay healthy and stay on the field, that's going to make everybody look better. And obviously, Jamison Williamson, it looks like he'll be ready for, at minimum, the regular season. So that's a nice Jamar Chase type of receiver that Goff's going to have. But don't forget, they get Quentin Cephas back, who missed most of last year. He was a rookie from Wisconsin, so he's a very serviceable receiver. So their receiver room went from very lackluster to, they could be, top 10 in the NFL. Their payroll certainly says as much as they're the number one payroll in the NFL. But to me, if they can keep Goff upright and he can limit his mistakes, it could be exciting. And the other thing too is, how is Aiden Hutchinson going to equate going from the pro game to the NFL? Will he still have that passion? Will the Georgia game kind of live with him? So we'll see. For all indications are he's ready to go, and he's a pro, and he's taken camp by storm. So I wouldn't say playoffs yet. No playoffs. No, not yet. But 8-9 is probably my prediction for the Lions.
Hutchinson he's solid. I'm not worried about him on any NFL whatsoever. It's going to be keeping Goff upright, offensive line, and that play. That's where I see a little bit of that.
The division's so tough, though. You got Green Bay, Chicago, and Minnesota. It's tough.
Their offensive line with Frank Ragnow coming back at center, top 5 in the NFL. So that bodes well for Goff.
All right, wrap up for the night. Robbie, you said it. Pick that division in order. Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, and Detroit.
That's the order.
I don't even
Minnesota,
Green Bay. Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah, you said it in order. Concur.
I like Minnesota. In this division. Green Bay losing Devontae is a huge loss for them. We'll see. So I've got Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, and the Bears.
Aaron Rodgers can stick it in somebody's helmet and they'll
outside of all the heckling going on here from Rich Jasper, I thought the best line is he misses River-City-Media. He don't know who these guys are. And you are right. Baseball is done after this week on River-City-Media. So I guess Raj went and took a break until the playoffs. We'll be back to baseball in October. And Aaron Rodgers looks like Nick Cage. I like that one too.
Got to do our vet your nuts real quick before we end it, right?
That I'm not wrapping this up that fast, but we are headed towards all that. But that was a good segment. We'll come back to that. I'm going to add one more thing to the lines. The reason I think they make the playoffs is when we do our NFC North review, I want to pull that line out of that schedule out. There's a middle part of that schedule that is just they're going to win 5 or 6 games, and I think that gets them over the hump. But here's the funnest part of the night. ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you live under the big top and you've lost all your bankroll because you've listened to Robbie Davis, join us now for Bet Your Nuts. Don't take NASCAR advice. Do not take 1, 2, 3, and 4 advice. And when you're listening to me, realize I spent 5 seconds prepping for this. So, yeah, you get what you get. So I'll go first as always. I've been making all these long-term predictions. I've been out predicting football season. I got one for you this week. I'm going back to my show pony. I rode hard early in the year. On Friday night, the Atlanta Braves get the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kyle Wright, 12-4, 2.95 ERA. I am going to facing Madison Bumgarner. I'm going to give you a three-way single-game parlay. Braves money line, the total over, and Kyle Wright over on strikeouts. Again, the Braves money line, the run total over, and Kyle Wright over on strikeouts. That'll get you about $350 to make your money. There you go. And I do like to bet your nuts. All right, Tom, you're a rookie at this. You gotta getting your swag on now.
Well, in honor of the Dan Gilbert Classic being played in Detroit this weekend, a la the Rocket Mortgage Classic.
The Rocket Mortgage Classic.
Yeah, the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which
golf. You're coming on my golf stream. Let's go.
Yeah.
Tom.
Well, I figured I'd try and up the ante a little bit. I don't know how it's a classic. I think this is the third one they've had. But anyways, there's a player that well-known name that really hasn't shown much this year, and who's outside of the FedEx Cup standings. Rich is right. I'm not much of a betting man. So I am going to go with this guy, Jason Day, at plus 6,000 to win the Rocket Mortgage, because he's been playing well from what I've read, and he needs to start making an improvement if he wants to make the playoffs, so to speak. So Jason Day plus 6,000 to win the Dan Gilbert Classic.
All right, Brandon. If you had Jason Day, your pick just got spoiled.
I did not have Jason Day.
I didn't even know he was still on the tour.
Unfortunately, Tom, sorry. I'm going to have to.
It was a stretch. It was a stretch. It was.
Hey,
a stretch.
that was a nice, Rocket Mortgage Classic. Here we go. So I'm going to dip back into the well. Same thing. I'm 2 for 2 in the last 2 Bet Your Nuts on the PGA Tour with Cam.
I'm going to write it down this time.
And Tony Finau.
Cam Smith, the champion of last year.
Yeah, the Open champion. Yeah. So
Tom's killing me here. I mean, Rich is killing me.
I'm going to go with an overdue win for my guy, Will Zalatoris.
Nice.
He is plus 1,400 for the overall winner. Sprinkle a little on that, but bet hard and bet your nuts on a top 5 finish at plus 330. Plus money, put it down, mortgage your house, second mortgage your house.
At Rocket Mortgage.
At Rocket Mortgage. Call them up. They'll loan you the money. It's going to happen. Will Zalatoris top 5 finish is a no-brainer, and sprinkle a little plus 1,400 on the win.
All right. I like that. Robbie Davis, we're going to go to you next, but I want to ask you something. I thought you liked my daughter. I mean, I thought you were close to them. Right now, Annalise College Fund in negatives, thanks to my last week's NASCAR bet. Right now, her whole college fund exists of 10 Chipper Jones rookie cards, a Patrick Mahomes autographed Beanie Baby, and 2 dozen copies of Frozen autographed by that fat guy that's the snowman, whatever his name is. So
you get 15% of the red light district out there, so you're good.
Off the red light district, that's good. I sold a copy of Frozen for $11.99 on eBay. And what am I going to put that on, Rob Davis?
All right, so we're going back to the well. They're
Crap.
They're at Indy this weekend. The Brickyard. It is a road course. So this is where you start to gamble a little bit.
That's where you need Andretti.
Don't take the favorite. Usually the favorites are pretty solid in NASCAR. Not on road courses though. It's wide open. So take who needs it the most. This race is needed by Blaney the most. He has got the most playoff points, but he doesn't have a win this week or this year. So he needs a win to get into the playoffs. He is plus 1800s. That will make that golf bet seem like nothing. You want plus 1800 on Ryan Blaney, the number 12 car, driving the Ford. Ford's won the 3 times in a row. There you go. That's Bet Your Nuts, Ryan Blaney to win in the Brickyard Road Race.
All right, I got to address something. A good pick, Robbie. Is it cold in Tennessee? Why is QB1 wearing a sweatshirt? I have nothing on underneath. So this is it. So if you want to see the rest, I'll pick it up. But
It's cold in Amsterdam, I can tell you that.
I think it's cold in my house with just a sweatshirt on, sitting on this wood chair. I've got a couple of things kind of freezing up on me. So that's the reason. And plus it's laundry day. I ain't got nothing else clean. All right. God, it was a great show. It was a great show.
We had to cancel our cleaning people today because of COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to have to clean our own house.
Oh, my God. Could you send them my way? Because my daughter's coming back from her summer with her mom. So I'm still trying to get it cleaned.
First world problems, got to clean your own house.
Hey, and you know what? I'm stuck downstairs with a bar of soap that I hate the smell of it. And I'm like, I just stink after I take a shower. There's no remedy. And I'm just stuck here cleaning myself with something I hate. It's a bad situation, guys.
Hopefully you have a couple handles of Jack Daniels.
Yeah. You should see I got Gatorades, whiskey, vodka, Gatorades, whiskey, vodka, all lined up down the hallway.
So what are you complaining about? A little dirty soap?
No, not dirty soap. I don't like the smell of the soap. I'd rather be dirty, but
At least you can smell it.
Yeah, I know.
Robert Floyd Rockefeller is done with that segment. We'll go on to what kind of soap is it? We ain't got no sponsors that do soap.
I don't know.
Okay. You got a toothbrush?
Yeah, I got a toothbrush.
All right.
We need to do a GoFundMe for like clean underwear and
yes, we do need to go.
Robbie.
Final words for this week. We'll go around the table. I know the show ran long. Thank you, everybody. This is one of the few times we've consistently kept a bunch of watchers on. I want you to thank you for your support of River City Media. We still have shirts that you can buy. We can have hats. Last week we were combo for $35. Yes, Rich, you can do final words. Just jump on. I want to thank the Marion Messenger. I want to thank everyone that is a supporter of River City Media. I want to thank everyone that spends a minute on River City Media. And I would like to thank Robbie Davis for not dying during my final words.
I think he's dying right now.
What's this? Robbie's
somebody in the hospital is choking him.
Should somebody call 911?
Hey, Robbie is smoking and Reds today. So my emotional thank you go over to anyone that's willing to donate a lung to Robbie Davis to start the GoFundMe. We cannot have attorneys who can't speak. What if sign language is like closing arguments? It'd be horrible. So thank you, everybody. And we'll go.
War of attrition. So apparently he can cough them out, right?
I wouldn't make it on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah. We'll go above me.
No pun intended.
to the man, the myth, the legend, TS. And that stands for Tom Sloan.
Well, my last words this week, you mentioned him earlier in the show, the miraculous body change, Patty the Batty. Normally, he's just an absolute animal after he wins a fight, and this last fight, which he won with submission very easily, he had a different message, and I think it's one that's very important, and one that you really didn't expect to hear from him. But if anyone doesn't know, just after weigh-in of the fight, he found out his best friend had committed suicide, which, needless to say, almost wiped him out. And the fact that he was able to go into the ring and octagon and do what he did just speaks volumes about his character and his courage. But he came out after the fight and basically just said that men have a stigma of mental health, that you're not really a man if you have an issue or if you have problems, and that is wrong. And he encouraged people to, if there's something wrong, if you feel like there's nowhere to go, there's somebody that can listen. Don't sit back and not say anything. Because like he said, he goes, I'd rather have his mate cry on his shoulder than go to his funeral. So I just think that was powerful, and that was a message that will resonate with a lot of people that feel like, man, I'm too manly enough to have these issues. I'm not a man and have mental problems. Sorry, newsflash, we all have issues, and we need somebody that can talk to, if anything, just to kind of take your mind off things. So his message was priceless, and it was good to see from somebody of that magnitude, to basically let people know that it's okay if you're not okay. This guy's not okay.
It was a great message to give, and also look at those handsome guys. I thought the timing of it, and I've never been ashamed to say, if it wasn't for rehab, if it wasn't for counseling, if it weren't for all the help I got with mental health issues, QB1 wouldn't be here, because I had several failed suicide attempts, tried to OD. The only thing that I can say is I was a bad drug addict, could never figure out the right combination. So I'm glad you shared that, because it's close to home. And it doesn't.
As soon as I saw that video, I knew that was going to be my last word. Like, that was just, it was powerful coming from somebody you wouldn't expect to hear that from.
It doesn't take a lot of strength to go to not call for help. It takes strength to call for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of a sudden, Robbie got light somewhere, so we'll go.
Robbie, he just teleported from the red light district back to home. He is back home now, safe and sound.
Yeah,
God, Robbie.
You found a switch.
Yeah, you can tell my poor planning. I took my cough syrup too early. It didn't last throughout the show, and I did not have my computer battery up to the speed to last 2 hours. So now I'm on my cell phone. Final words. Glad to be back. Hopefully, COVID runs its course next week. And then I am back in full speed next weekend or next week, whatever day it is. I've been lost. I've just been in my basement for 7 days now.
All right, Robbie, you have less life than anybody in the fantasy league right now, so I'll leave you alone on that one. But get well, buddy, from Rich Jasper to you. Up to the man, the myth, the glue that holds. We all get to be superstars. Like, we're all out there. But I feel like Brandon is that solid hitting second baseman that we all depend on to hit 280, hit 15 dingers, drive in 70 runs. He's the glue that holds this team together.
Yeah, I'm a little quiet at times. You know, it happens. But
You are the Jeff
it's behind
Blauser
the scenes. That's what
podcast.
happens. Yeah, I'd like to see Mark Lemke maybe more, but you know.
You can have Mark.
No, I'm just kidding. No, Tom, that was a very good point. Patty the Batty. I love what he said about that. It's very true. You know, a lot of times, you know, there is that stigma that you got to be a man and you can't talk to him about any, you know, tears or for girls or whatever. So yeah, I mean it's okay to talk about, you know, and I think that's the point he's trying to make for sure. And you know, we should all do the same in respect. So to go aside from that side note, I'm just going to say that I'm going for the trifecta, boys. I'm dipping in the golf. Will Zalatoris is going to win, and I'm going to go 3 for 3. So let's go.
I like it.
Let's go.
So everybody stay with us. We are going to expand and try some stuff. We've put 5 people on the cast now. 3 of them are major Big Ten fans. I've got a couple of people we're going to pull out that are SEC fans. Don't forget the other shows that run on the network. Off Record, which is a wrestling-based show. It's so much fun. The Coach Tyler Van show that starts up Thursday all the way through football season here on RiverCity-Media. And I think I've got commitments from a couple of people to put the Big Ten football show on here for 30 minutes a week. So we're going to have our own Big Ten show. So there's a lot of entertainment here. And, of course, every week, your Monsters come on at midnight on Saturday night with Tennessee Macabre and our friend Duke Ralston with his 2 zany friends. And if y'all haven't watched that, support Duke. And also, you can find River City Media on Marion Messenger. You can find Chase Bryant on River City Media and Marion Messenger. That's a lot of entertainment for free. So what we ask for, I like and I follow, and that's what we'll get, and I appreciate it. So for Doc Holliday Davis over there with his lungs, for
Back from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Quickly.
From Tom Sloan enjoying his last days of no snow, and Brandon Chain, who's going to go jump in his vault and roll around in his money as soon as this podcast is over. We are Wrestling Speculation. And Raj, you had a show tonight, and we will see you next week. And we'll talk about Juan Soto next week.
It's amazing that my cell phone has better lighting than my government-issued computer. Thanks a lot, State of Tennessee.
Soto, quick note, last Soto Final Four, Padres, Cardinals, Dodgers, Yankees, maybe?
I'm going with the Guardians. I'm
I'm going to say Padres, Cardinals are the favorites.
He's getting out of the NL East, and I'm happy about it. Good night. God bless.
All right, see you guys.
Week.